Hey, hey, be there in a moment. Let's go to our front shot. Ooh, that does not look good. Does that look better? Hang on. And then we make it like that. All right, there we go. That's better. No, wait, a little higher up. Maybe a little more down. Yeah. Okay, that's cool. Hi, good evening. Let me just get the wire out of the way in the chat. Okay. Tonight, um, we are going to play NHLPA 93. And if we get done with that, we're going to play NBA Jam, both on the Sega Genesis. Both very fun games. And yeah, let's dive in here. Let's go to our next scene. And everything looks good. Sarah, hey. Hey, hey. I made some changes on the overlay a little bit. At the top, we now have what we're playing now and what we're playing next week. And I added it to the other overlay, to the taking a break one. So watch. If we go here. Oh, no, wait, no. We need to go here. And you see at the top where it's on there, I duplicated it so that if we play two games in a stream, I can just real quick change it up there and it'll change on both ends. The last couple weeks when I export the streams, we're getting a lot of games that don't have the right game at the top. I mean, like, well, who cares really? But like, it bothers me. So I fixed that, and then down in the bottom, I cleaned that up a little bit, and I made a current podcast episode, and then up next. That was actually requested by someone that they said that would be a good thing to get on there to kind of get people interested, because I know that's actually kind of happened in the past where people have seen, oh, you're podcasting about that, let me go check that out, kind of thing. So yeah, good stuff. Hopefully the lighting stays okay. It's like kind of hazy. I don't know what it's like on like a mile away from me where you are, but it's a little hazy out. So we'll see what the lighting's like. But let's wait. What happened here? Did we go into a game? Oh, okay, there we go. All right, never mind. So yeah, NHL '93. This game rules. Oh man, does it ever rule? Um, this is where this series was just absolutely taking off after the first one, NHL, which is just called NHL Hockey, but afterwards it started to be called NHL '92. So in here, it's still just playoffs and regular season, and you can play as teammates and whatnot. Um, and then '94, it's '95 when you actually play as a season. So I used to do because in what should come as no surprise, I used to do my own seasons, where every day after school, who's like a crappy team that we can beat? Minnesota. I used to play. Oh, okay. You'll go penalties on except for offside, because offside is super lame. Yeah, you're damn right New York was the best team in the game. That's why we won the Stanley Cup. One of the happiest mornings of my life was that parade. Yeah, and so you can edit your lines if you really wanted to. For our purposes, we're just going to leave them. And so they wouldn't have what's it called, names in the game. I mean, they do, but not on like on the screen for another like year or two, I think it was. I mean, names are in the game, but because in the first year they weren't. And so what you had to do was learn who they were. I mean, or you could just play, but like I had to learn all the names. So, you know, there we go. Mike Gartner. The NHL was on ESPN back then, and so I would watch every game every night and like obsessively try to learn like player numbers so that when I played, I would know who each player was. And yeah, normal people didn't do that probably. I'm sure. And then I think it's the next year after that, I think they started to have them just on screen, which is fine. But this is like, this game is so good. There we go. And NHL was good till I'd say about. I remember the last one I remember being good was like 2000 or so, and then it just, I don't know, it got weird. I don't like these sports games where I have to like change all the sliders around to make it like actually play right. Tony Amonte, didn't his Tony Amonte's sister played on the Olympic team, I think. I think it was Tony Amonte. Yeah, so that's period one. And so EA's starting to get their like sports stuff going now too. You'll notice it says EASN. And it's actually pretty cool in the early years of EA. Oh yeah, you can't do one-timers in this game. That's next year in 94. You can start doing one-timers, and then you can start doing some really gnarly stuff. The play control in this game is just so smooth. Um, the way the puck bounces around, like the physics of it, it's just so good. Oh, we can call for a penalty. It's just like really, really good. I used to play every day after school. I had a league in 92, 93. I just had, like, I would just get a notebook every year and just, I'd play a 25 game season with the divisions. I already play a bunch of games against their division teams and then one against everybody else. One of my teachers at school taught me how to set up something like that. And then I'd make spreadsheets out of it and bring it to school, and oh boy, that just made me the coolest person in the world, let me tell you. But it's funny, I bet a lot of the people who thought I was a real nerd for doing stuff like that now probably play Ultimate Team, 4 times a week. So, take that. Two nothing still. Yeah, Minnesota's not good. This was the year Minnesota was used in the a lot of their players were taken by San Jose in the expansion draft. It was them in Pittsburgh. A lot of Pittsburgh players end up in Minnesota, and it's kind of a weird thing that happened, but yeah, the original San Jose Sharks were, a lot of them were former North Stars. Of course, then moved to Dallas a couple of years later, and now there's a team in Minnesota. Yeah, it's the Stars, and now there's a team in Minnesota again. And actually, Ranger was on the original San Jose. One of my favorite players in the 80s, Kelly Kissio, was on the original. And so was Walt Podubny, who was on the Rangers in the 80s. Those teal original Sharks jerseys were really cool. And hard to find back then. I remember there was a girl in my homeroom that had one, and she'd actually gotten it in California. I also kind of don't think she knew what hockey was, but whatever. Goal. Yeah, the 5-minute periods blow by, because it's not actually 5 minutes, of course. But they really do kind of fly right by. And, the Rangers have John Van Beesbrook in goal. He would go to Florida the next year in the expansion draft, because Mike Richter was coming up. And Mike Richter's in this game, I think. And game over. We won. Success. Alright, we'll play at least one more game. Hopefully Sarah gets back. Or no, is Florida? No, Florida's next year. That's right. Yeah, because Tampa Bay... Yeah, it was San Jose, and then Tampa Bay came in. And then Quebec moves to Colorado. And Ottawa. Yeah, it was Tampa Bay and Ottawa came in together. And then next year is Florida. And then Hartford moves to Carolina. And Winnipeg moves to Phoenix, and then back to Winnipeg. Yeah, it's so Phoenix. Why are we on a hockey team in Phoenix? Made no sense. So we'll go. Islanders. Hopefully Carey doesn't see this. Islanders were not good in the 90s. And at the time, this was so cool, this analysis. I mean, it's just text, but, like, you know, I mean, think about the pregame for, like, a FIFA match, where they talk about who the star players are and the players they're looking out for. I mean, it's pretty much the same thing. You know, more or less. There we go. Goal. Brian Leach again. This was also the last year I think it was the last year you could fight in the game, and they make it kind of hard to do because in the first game you just like you could get in like 10 fights a game, and I think the NHL was not super happy with that. As I recall. I was actually thinking about this era this morning because on Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave and Brian were talking about the National, which was this really cool newspaper in the early 90s that Frank DeFord ran. And that was when I first ran into Dave's column. He had a column on Tuesdays in the National where he'd talk about wrestling. And I remember I was like, 10, 11 years old. And I'm like, who is this guy who knows all this stuff about wrestling? What's his name? Dave Meltzer. Okay. And, a couple of years later, you're online. You're like, oh, that guy. Yeah. Okay. But that was my introduction to Dave. It was in the National. And National only lasted, it was like 3 years probably. And it had a bunch of issues. With like distribution and stuff like that. I remember it was pretty cool though. I remember there was a big thing in the National protesting the Washington NFL team and their name, and in like the early 90s. And they were big purveyors every year of college football playoff. They always have like a poster of like, here's what a playoff would look like this year, which was kind of cool. But yeah, they had some problems. A lot of the other newspapers tried to squeeze out their distribution, and these people are all a bunch of shitheads. Yeah, ProSet was a card company. Man, this was the peak of cards. Topps and Donruss and Fleer. The Fleer hockey cards were good. Upper Deck. Upper Deck had awesome hockey cards. I have a great mom story about the comic book shop in the mall that screwed me on a baseball card, and we found out when we got home, and she went back and told the guy off. I'd meant to get. I forget this. It was a Soviet player. I forget which one. Maybe it's Sergei Fedorov or Alexander Mogilny, but I couldn't remember their last name, and so I got another player with that name. But it was like, you know, just like somebody who was like, you know, like he'd come over to play, but he wasn't that good. And so instead of having a card that was worth like $20, I had a card that was worth like two. And I realized it when we got home, and yeah, she went in and lit the dude up about it. There's a goal. Darren Turcotte. Yeah, you beat. The goalies are a little glitchy in this game for sure, which kind of sucks. But yeah, we'd never done. Somehow we'd never done a stream for this game. I mean, I guess the podcast episode's really about NHL 94, but we could do a separate 93 one, sure. I think I used music from 93 in it by accident, and no one ever said anything. I realized, like a week later, I realized it when I was going through the files, and I was like, oh, whoops. I did that with a podcast very recently, too. I just kind of picked the wrong file. And nobody said anything. And people are definitely listening. Our referral logs are like, you know, we have a like X amount of people that, you know, download it day one, and then man, the back catalog gets hit real good. Like you'll see like a whole bunch of episodes get downloaded one day, and it's somebody going through them probably, and you know, that's really cool. I know I just talked to somebody who DM'd me on Twitter, and that's what they said. They started listening to one episode, and then they went through and checked out a whole bunch of others. And I mean, that's how you should always get into podcasts. Yeah, the goalies are kind of glitchy. I never realized that back then. Oh, I missed them. Jeez, how did that not go in? Nice goal. John Ogrodnik. Yeah, the Islanders are bad. When I was coming up as a kid, that was when the Islanders won all those Stanley Cups, and then, you know, a couple of years later, it just fell apart for them real bad. They were not good for a long time. I can't remember if anybody in our neighborhood supported them. It was mostly Rangers and Devils where I grew up. A lot of Devils. My town's Cub Scouts used to get deals for Devils games because I was in the Devils were bad too. They really were not good until they won the Stanley Cup in '95. Really, only a couple years before that, and so you used to be able to get tickets real cheap. Oh, move on. Dropping controller. And so a lot of kids would go to a Devils game and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, I'll support the Devils." And of course, there were parents that were like, "You're not supporting a team called the Devils." I remember there was a kid in my neighborhood whose parents would like freak out about it every year when they did like they would do ticket raffles at school too for stuff, and they would be like, "My kid's not going to a Devils game." My dad's worked security from NASCAR for like 40 years, and they used to like give away NASCAR tickets back then because nobody wanted them. It was, a bunch of years before NASCAR became like super popular in the late 90s. I remember when we were a kid, I mean, he would come home with these big big rolls of them and just give them out to get people to go. And then a few years later, it's the hottest ticket out there. So weird. It is Tampa Bay's first year. They had cool colors too. For sure. Yeah, Wendell Young was a good goalkeeper. I remember Roman Hammerlick. Was their big defender. There was a kid in my middle school that had wore a lightning hat. But I picked up the Rangers because that was who I watched on TV. We had MSG. We didn't have the Devils and the Islanders were on Sports Channel, which we didn't get until a little later. So that was kind of how you pick stuff like that back then, really. I mean, it's like with the Yankees and Mets. Yankees were on WPIX and the Mets were on WWOR, which I don't think WWOR even exists anymore. I know WPIX does. But you know, so it was just kind of like which channel you started watching more, and I watched a lot of WPIX because they would show like old television and they would show sci-fi movies all the time. So you just kind of start watching Yankees games. And I watched a lot of Mets too on WWR, and we got the Philly up in North Jersey. We still have all the Philly stations too, so I just watch a lot of Phillies games too. Was that penalty on us? Oh, okay. I mean, it was like Knicks and Nets too. It was the same way. Oh, okay. Oh, cool. Yeah, my dad just had a birthday. A couple weeks ago. I always get the day wrong. But it's like mid-July. My mother would always text me. My aunt texted me in the morning. I was like, yeah, it's your father's birthday. But yeah, mid-July sometime. So yeah, so I've just been playing. We won the first game 2-0, and then the second game 3-0. Yeah, one of his sisters is July too, I think. I think so. Was that penalty? Oh, it was on them. Okay. But yeah, I was saying, yeah, this game is so good. But there's no season mode, so you had to kind of make your own. And I would buy a notebook every year and just make my own league. And yeah, I remember the one year, because there wasn't a season mode until 95, so 92, 93, 94, you had to do it yourself. And the one year, the Islanders won it all, which is weird looking back. And then the one year the Blues did, and then in '94 the Rangers did, like they did in real life. I might have massaged that to make sure. And then starting in '95, they had actual seasons. Like you do today, like in career mode. Right. Yeah. And what I've always heard is, I guess, like the first couple of years, they just didn't have like the programming to make it work right for a full season. Because the people who play, like with Tecmo Bowl, there's a huge ROM community for this series, particularly for '94. But that's one of the ones that doesn't have a season mode, so people update the rosters, but you can't play a season. And I asked on the forum once, or no, I DM'd the person who runs it, or somebody who runs it, follows me on Twitter, and I DM'd them about it, and I was like, yeah, why don't you guys just use '95 then? And they said there's some kind of like programming limitation, like if you edit the rosters, basically the game breaks. That's so weird. Like there's no way they were thinking about that back then. Of like, ha, take that, person who still wants to play our 25-year-old game. Because I'd love to every year just play like a season with like updated rosters. That would freaking rule. Yeah, so you can injure people, see all the blood. Yeah, the NHL were not happy with that. I'll let that sit there for a second. This is the last year. It's either this one or '94. Was the last time you could fight too, because yeah, in '92, if you bump up against someone, you end up in a fight with them, and yeah, I always heard the NHL was not happy with that because that was the first era where they were trying to get away from like, you know, about that. Yeah. Yeah, well, this is heading towards the Mortal Kombat era too. So in '93, is it out yet? Maybe it is. But this is, we're heading right in that direction. Yeah, and especially the Genesis. Yeah, and so what's cool too is, check this out. You can watch highlights from other games. This is a cool thing that went away. And so they go around on the bottom, they go around all the games, and they show you highlights from the end of the game. So this one's, 5-4, and so Calgary's, they're chasing, trying to score a goal. Madden had this too. For till like 94, 95, and then they stopped. Yeah, Mortal Kombat's 92. Yeah, so yeah, we're already neck deep in drama. Yeah, and see there, Washington scores. So how freaking cool is that? And the first couple Maddens had the same thing. At halftime, you would get highlights from games that were about to end, games that were in middle of play. You'd see like last second field goals and stuff like that. It was so cool. And then it just like disappeared and never really came back. Yeah, I can't believe they don't have that now. Like FIFA kinda does in that like they give you goal updates, but they don't show you highlights or anything like that. I mean, that would be so cool. Yeah, I always thought that was a really awesome. Oh, Tampa Bay scores. Let's try to get in a fight. Yeah, I was I was part of a roundtable thing a couple years ago, and that was one of the things I was talking about on it. Was like, I wish. Oh, they scored again. Let's beat that guy up. Yeah, like I can't believe they never brought that back. Like just like at halftime, be like, here's what happened in the the Eagles game or whatever. There's a goal. Mike Gartner again. Yeah, the NHL I don't think was happy with the like yeah beat everybody up after the play. Yeah, I don't think they were super thrilled. Let's get our first line back on. Oh, interference? Yeah. You get so many interference penalties in this game. But it's kind of one of the ways to score is like hover over the keeper and just try to slide it in. Oh, we got two penalties. Crap. We'll play one more game after this, and then we'll move on. Adam Graves. You can do this. Take them all on, Diego Maradona style. Or get laid out. We lost. That's okay. Let's see if they show us more highlights. Yeah, that's such a cool thing. Great. Yeah, like in FIFA, say, if you had like a halftime thing and they're like, well, here's what happened in, this other match. Yeah, that would be awesome. Let's try to beat them again, and then we'll move on to something else. Goal. Kerry King. Carry Kingdom Slider. And Mike Gardner was such a good player. Go in. Yeah, there we go. Let's switch to the checking line. I used to love trying to cross-check someone right on the face-off. That was always fun. Oh, interference. Jeez. I didn't even see it. Yeah, the puck physics is really cool in this game, how it bounces around real well. At the time, that just seemed so revolutionary. Hockey games had always been like the Niketsu one that we were playing the other week, which is very much based on ice hockey on the NES. Oh, yeah, get in there for that rebound. I wish you could do one-timers in this game. My brain is just like totally programmed for doing that. Or doing this, you know, where you kind of go around the net and then loop around and then, you know, pass and then put it in. I mean, that's pretty much how I play FIFA now. When I first started playing FIFA in the early OOs, I played it basically. I tried to play it like NHL. There we go. There we go. It's hard to get the puck through that like big mass of bodies. This game's definitely could get featured in the '93 yearbook scene that I will be officially working on in a few weeks once I finish the first issue, which is pretty much done. I need some more screen grabs for a couple games. And then it'll more or less be ready for publishing. That's a goal. Kerry King again. Wow, we're routing them. Oh, here we go. Here's a fight. Oh. We lost. Ooh, almost. Oh man, one thing that keepers can really do is they can get across. They can get across they can get across the crease real good. I almost said um, penalty box, like soccer. $18-yard box. Yeah, like if I could hit him over there and well, we scored anyway, but just blast it over. Oh. And you can change lines midway. I just haven't this time. Game over. And that's it. So yeah, so I think that's about it for NHL '93. Yeah, we're definitely gonna cover this in the zine. Maybe we'll do a podcast too, because yeah, the podcast was about '94, I guess technically. So we can get this into the zine too. Oh well, actually no, this would be in the '92 yearbook because it came out in '92. Yeah. That's what I mean. Oh, so we're already good to go on that. Oh, okay. What is that? it's one of my neighbors. Okay. So, I think that's going to end it for this game. We'll be back. If you're watching this on YouTube later, this is the end of this stream. But if you're staying right now in real time, we'll be back with another game in about 2 minutes or so. So, be right back.